We add mobility, security, and further functions to the traditional means of payments. This is what we call mobile enablement. We provide that all over the world. However, the functions differ significantly. In the United States, on the most developed market of the world, we are providing convenience for the shoppers, next generation retail solutions, whereas in the least developed parts of the world, we provide access to financial services in the absence of traditional payment and financial infrastructure.
One of the differentiating factors of Selim is the number of use cases that we have where a user can find benefit in actually making payments or purchasing. From bill payment to donation to money send to m-commerce to e-commerce to paying for parking, tollways. The amount of use cases is key, because I don't want to download an app, put in my credit card information only to pay bills. I want to use it for a variety of different reasons, depending on the day, depending on the moment. I want to be able to pay at a restaurant using my mobile phone. If I'm not going to carry my credit cards or debit cards with me, then I better be able to use my phone to make those payments anywhere I am. Selim is extremely flexible in its approach to a market. For example, we can go in to a market and offer a revenue share agreement, a licensing agreement, a joint venture opportunity. So how flexible we are not only in the use cases, but how we work with our partners.
RKFM is at the heart of Tungsram's vision for the future. Data doesn't matter, doesn't care if it's a plant, a building or a sensor. So this is something where we see a lot of synergies in the future that we can deploy for the benefit of our customers.
Az épületeknek és a benne lévő helyiségeknek, berendezéseknek az adatai már a tervezési fázisban bekerülnek a tervekbe. Az üzemeltetésre is fel lehet használni természetesen ezeket az adatokat, és egy központi adatbázisban akár különböző tervekből érkező adatokat meg tudunk jeleníteni, és integráltan egy rendszerben tudják használni az üzemeltető kollégák.
A legfontosabb szempont a leendő szolgáltatóval szemben az volt, hogy itthonról lássa el a mi üzemeltetési rendünkhöz igazodóan a szolgáltatási tevékenységét, rendelkezzen megfelelő referenciákkal, illetve felkészült legyen Magyarország legnagyobb középületének, BIM alapú modelljének és rendszerének az üzemeltetésére, ezért is esett a választásunk az Archi-FM-re.
Kebahagiaan berawal dari kemudahan. Kemudahan untuk menghadirkan kesenangan, keceriaan, dan kepuasan. Kepuasan untuk meraih kesuksesan. Menghadirkan filosofi smooth dalam budaya kerja, Metranet berupaya membangun koloni yang solid untuk menatap masa depan. Semangat pagi yang hadir dalam keseharian menjadi sebuah ritme kerja yang harmonis di keluarga Metranet.
My good friend, Foreign and Trade Minister Peter Sijarto, dear Peter, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are still battling with the pandemic. But amid all crises, there lies opportunities. The COVID-19 pandemic has unlocked the great potential of digital economy. UN Secretary General mentioned that cellular signals have reached more than 95% of the world population. In ASEAN, 441 million people, or 65% of the population, are internet users. The pandemic has also increased our dependence on digital technology, from homeschooling to working from home. It is fair to say that digital economy holds a huge potential for economic growth. To this end, Indonesia has a promising digital ecosystem with a projected value of 133 billion US dollar by 2025, with over 2,100 startups in 2019, or the fifth largest in the world. Therefore, I believe the launching of Hunindo Tech website is very timely today. And I hope this forum can provide greater opportunities for both our countries to facilitate more interaction and mutual understanding, promote more collaboration and exposure between two countries, to showcase products, investment opportunities, and updates on business activities. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great confidence to see the enthusiasm of both Indonesian and Hungarian business communities as well as startups. The business community of our two countries can play a stronger role to bring our business ties even closer and contribute in accelerating economic recovery. Through this forum, I strongly encourage all participants to explore potential collaboration for the benefit of our two peoples. Last but not least, I'm very happy to take this opportunity to officially launch Hunindo Tech. I thank you very much.
I wholeheartedly welcome all the participants of the Hunindo Tech virtual forum. I especially would like to express my gratefulness to my very good colleague and friend, Minister Marsudi, dear Retno, to address this forum in the beginning as well. I wish we could meet personally. I think personal meetings cannot be replaced by any kind of virtual conferences, but unfortunately we are living in extraordinary circumstances. I myself have been in quarantine for 14 days for getting COVID, and the least I can advise you is try to avoid that because it's terrible. But thanks God, relationships with Indonesia have been progressing very well in the recent years. We just celebrated the 65th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic ties, and I can tell you that there's no open political issue in our relationship. So everything is ready for a forward progress and enhancement when it comes to economic and business to business cooperation. This has been underpinned by the continuous exchanges of visits between the leaders of our countries. I myself have met Minister Marsudi quite some times. She has visited me in Budapest, like our Prime Minister has visited the President of Indonesia twice in the recent years as well. And we are really happy with the continued contribution of Indonesia to the global issues. We have supported the candidature of the country to become a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, and we are happy that Indonesia contributes a lot to the peacekeeping actions of the United Nations as well. I think that people-to-people contacts are the best basis for our cooperation. That's why I'm happy to tell you that we have increased the number of scholarships we give to Indonesian students on an annual basis from 50 to 100. And I really do believe that Indonesian students in Hungary will become promoters and goodwill ambassadors of our relationship, which relationship has been performing pretty well since the Hungarian government has announced the political and economic strategy opening to East. We have increased our trade by 29% during the last 9 years. Hungarian companies have been pretty successful in the Indonesian market on water management, ICT technologies, food processing, and we have a flagship, a $36 million tied aid credit program, in the framework of which Hungarian companies have contributed to the development of the water management situation of 36 municipalities in Indonesia. And now we have some areas of economy like Fintech, like telecommunication, like e-tolling, like cybersecurity or vocational training, where Hungarian companies can offer really good know-hows and technologies which might be making sense to be put into consideration by Indonesian companies as well. That's why I'd like to encourage our Indonesian friends to make business with the Hungarian companies. I would like to encourage you to take advantage of the website hunindotech.id, which has just been established by our embassy as a good platform of data when it comes to companies seeking for information how to cooperate with their Hungarian counterparts. Hungarian Exim Bank is at your disposal. We're ready to ensure the financial background for the cooperation between Indonesian and Hungarian businesses. And I'd like to encourage the Hungarian friends, Hungarian companies as well to be active on the Indonesian market, being one of the biggest ones in the Southeast Asian region, which is one of the most rapidly emerging regions of the world. So I wish you all the best and much of success, and I really do hope that we can meet personally soon.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your time and commitment in strengthening the Hungary and Indonesian ties. Next, we have an opening speech from His Excellency Mr. Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita, Minister of Industry of the Republic of Indonesia.
Good morning. Thank you, Excellency Ambassador, for inviting me to speak today at the second Hunindo Tech Business Forum. It is such an honor for me to be able to participate in this event. Thank you also to all participants in this webinar. I hope you are all in good health. Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, with the fastest economic growth in Europe, Hungary is now the third largest trade and investment partner in the region. This, in turn, has made Hungary one of Indonesia's most important partner country in Central Europe. Today, I would like to briefly discuss three key issues, which are the manufacturing industry performance, import substitution program, and the newly issued job creation law. Let me start with the first issue, the manufacturing industry's performance. Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia's manufacturing industry's performance has seen a positive outlook in the third quarter of this year, albeit it remains under heavy pressure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Data from the PROM Manufacturing Index, Bank Indonesia, shows that the country's manufacturing index in the third quarter of this year stood at 44.95%, increasing compared to that of the second quarter, which is 28.55%. All industrial subsectors was able to accomplish this achievement, whereas performance improved during the same period. The players in the country continue to make several adjustments to enhance efficiency and business sustainability. One of the measures being taken to mitigate the impact of the pandemic was by pushing further the application of various technologies. These initiatives is in accordance with the Making Indonesia 4.0 roadmap that constitutes direction and strategy to increase productivity and quality more efficiently to boost industrial competitiveness in the global arena. Innovation and technology are the paramount importance that needs to be adopted to excel in the competitions, such as through the role of startups as technology providers. Excellency, Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, secondly, our industry has been very much dependent on the import of capital goods and raw material. Thus, one of our efforts to facing this is to reduce import dependency on capital goods and raw materials. We have set a target of an import substitution program of 35% by the year of 2022, which is also carried out in the acceleration of national economic recovery. Under the program, we are taking measures to implement import substitution in industries that recorded large import values in the year of 2019 or last year. This includes machinery, chemical, metal, electronics, food, electrical equipment, textile, motor vehicles, metal goods, and rubber goods industries. To that end, these industries must be able to rush to reach various new market potentials that will emerge. The National Economic Recovery Policy is expected to protect, maintain, and increase the community's economic capacity and to create an economic climate that is safe, healthy, and conducive to boost investment and public trust. In addition, this policy also aims to boost people's purchasing power and, of course, to create jobs. Currently, 12 major manufacturing companies are in various stages of planning new investments in Indonesia with a total value of over 1,000 trillion Indonesian rupiah or 67.57 billion US dollar by the year of 2023. We are ready to oversee the realization of this investment because it will be conducive to the import substitution program. We believe this effort will encourage the deepening of industrial structure, increase investment, and promote new workers' absorption. Thus, Indonesia will be able to grow and transform in making the most of the opportunities of this pandemic. Excellency, Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, lastly, Indonesia has passed the Job Creation Law. President Jokowi enacted this historic law on Monday, 2nd of November 2020. The Job Creation Law is a comprehensive bill that regulates many provisions in various industry sectors into one law. It seeks to strengthen the economy by increasing competitiveness, creating jobs, and making it easier to do business in Indonesia. It is also designed in part to streamlining the country's complex, sometimes redundant regulatory environment. The law is restriction in 11 critical areas, including labor law, capital investment, business licensing, corporate tax, and land acquisition. These measures have made Indonesia a far more attractive destination for foreign business and investors. Excellency, Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, that's all from me. Thank you. Stay healthy, stay strong, and stay united.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Next, please welcome Dr. Christoph Sabo, Chief Executive Officer of the Hungarian Export Promotion Agency.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting HEPA to open the Hunindo Tech 2.0 event, which is a great opportunity to further strengthen Hungarian-Indonesian economic ties. Hungary is an open European economy with a strong industry sector and long-standing tradition in scientific research. Research and development is one of the main priorities of the Hungarian National Economic Strategy. Its importance is emphasized in every sector of the Hungarian economy. One of our most innovative sectors is ICT. The sector's production value provides 5% of the country's GDP. More than 4% of employees works in the digital economy. The value of goods and services related to the sector accounts for 13% of total Hungarian export. The continuous and dynamic double-digit yearly upturn observed in the digital economy greatly exceed the country's GDP growth rate. The Hungarian ICT sector has key competencies in a number of areas. The most important to mention are smart city, smart traffic, energy management, health industry, agriculture, banking and enterprise software solutions, security printing, and cybersecurity software solutions. The startup ecosystem is getting stronger in the country, and the cooperation between companies and universities has gained a new momentum. Several programs help young people reach their full potential, and companies discover promising candidates more easily than ever. The Startup Campus Hungary, powered by HEPA program, supports the greatest ideas coming for universities and helps students create remarkable as well as internationally successful products and startups. The Hungarian ICT sector boasts many international success stories. The Hungarian design software company Graphisoft has been successful for several decades. Its solutions are used in nearly every country in the world. The Budapest-based navigation software company NNG started as a small startup and became one of the leading suppliers of the global automotive industry over the course of 10 years. The most well-known success story of the past few years, Prezi's web-based presentation software used by over 100 million people on a global scale. Chatbot team, which specifically develops HR chatbot solutions, is one of the world's most promising artificial intelligence startups. Talkabot also develops chatbot solutions. After a capital investment of several million euros, the company is dynamically extending its external markets. This year, 3 Hungarian companies, Dintel Magyarország, Supercharge and MiniCRM, are on the Deloitte Technology Fast 500 EMEA list, which ranks the fastest growing tech firm of 22 countries. The Hungarian government is doing its best to support companies operating in Hungary to sell their world-class products and services in as many foreign countries as possible. Therefore, it adopted the National Export Strategy for the period of 19 to 2030 in the March last year. HEPA continuously supports several ICT and tech companies in reaching their export goals by searching for business opportunities for them, taking them to roadshow globally, and organizing joint exhibitions. It remains our primary mission to maintain our export promotion contribution to those companies. Such events like the current would mean a firm milestone on the way. Looking forward to our mutual cooperation, I wish you a successful event and negotiation.
Thank you, Dr. Christoph. Last but not the least, we would like to welcome Her Excellency Judith Pak, Ambassador of Hungary to Indonesia.
Yang terhormat para peserta dari Indonesia dan Hungaria. Ladies and gentlemen, dear business representatives, dear Indonesian and Hungarian friends. Suatu kehormatan bagi saya untuk dapat membuka forum bisnis penting Hunindo Tech 2.0 ini antara Indonesia dan Hungaria untuk membantu kemajuan bisnis di masa pandemi. As the pandemic fundamentally transformed business culture globally, the main goal of the Hungarian embassy remains to upgrade the Hungarian-Indonesian relations and to help effectively our business communities. Bilateral relations between Hungary and Indonesia have gone a long way back, and this year the importance of this event is enhanced also by the fact that we are celebrating the 65th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. In the recent years, political and economical relations have experienced a major development, and our mutual strong engagement is also proven by the fact that 3 ministers agreed to open today's forum with me together. Special thanks to Ibu Retno Marsudi, Foreign Minister of Indonesia, Bapak Agus Gumiwang Kardasasmita, Indonesian Minister of Industry, Mr. Peter Sijarto, Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and Dr. Christoph Szabó, Head of the Hungarian Export Promotion Agency. Terima kasih banyak Ibu Menlu dan Bapak-Bapak Menteri. Köszönjük szépen Miniszter úr, Vezérigazgató úr. Ladies and gentlemen, in the recent years, business relations have been on the rise, and by now the annual trade flow between our two countries exceeds $200 million. Many Hungarian and Indonesian companies that represent particularly high level of technology have achieved major success through cooperation. Please allow me to give you some examples of the outstanding joint projects of the last years. Budapest Waterworks and their Indonesian partner Arta and Virotama developed water supply systems in 36 settlements throughout Indonesia. Multiple gas-powered mobile power plant projects run by PLN are since 2016 operating with GE turbines produced in Hungary. Indonesia's first gamma irradiation facility, which was inaugurated by Vice President Yusuf Kalla in 2017, was implemented with the professional help of Hungarian Isotope Kft. In 2018, Telkom Indonesia invested in the Hungarian Fintech company Cellum and signed a strategic cooperation agreement with the company. Hungarian lightning company Tungsram, who already owned a production base in Indonesia in the 70s, is now working on re-entering the Indonesian market with new innovative solutions. With all this, I believe we can clearly state that technology is bringing us together. This was already proven by the first Hunindo Tech Business Forum in 2018, in which over 200 Hungarian and Indonesian business companies participated, resulting in new business cooperation and partnerships. Nowadays, it's more important than ever to establish new business relations, and Hunindo Tech is again providing a platform for tech-based Hungarian and Indonesian companies to discuss their innovative solutions and development plans. During the following 2 days, outstanding companies and experts of their field will elaborate on how our future will look like. Visit our homepage hunindotech.id to learn more about the event and also about Hungarian companies looking for new partnerships in Indonesia. Very special thanks to our sponsors, Tungsram Group, Cellum, FestiPay, and a special thanks for the continuous support of the Hunindo Tech events by Telkom Indonesia. Saya sebagai Duta Besar Hungaria untuk Indonesia sangat berharap bahwa forum bisnis ini akan sukses dan akan membangun hubungan bisnis antara kedua negara di tengah COVID-19 ini. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Honorable guests, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly begin our panel session for today. For anyone who wishes to join all sessions today, kindly visit our website at hunindotech.id to access all of the links. Before we begin today's session, let's take a look at some of our sponsors for this event.
We add mobility, security, and further functions to the traditional means of payments. This is what we call mobile enablement. We provide that all over the world. However, the functions differ significantly. In the United States, on the most developed market of the world, we are providing convenience for the shoppers, next generation retail solutions, whereas in the least developed parts of the world, we provide access to financial services in the absence of traditional payment and financial infrastructure.
One of the differentiating factors of Cellum is the number of use cases that we have where a user can find benefit in actually making payments or purchasing. From bill payment to donation to money send to m-commerce to e-commerce to paying for parking, tollways. The amount of use cases is key, because I don't want to download an app, put in my credit card information only to pay bills. I want to use it for a variety of different reasons, depending on the day, depending on the moment. I want to be able to pay at a restaurant using my mobile phone. If I'm not going to carry my credit cards or debit cards with me, then I better be able to use my phone to make those payments anywhere I am. Selim is extremely flexible in its approach to a market. For example, we can go in to a market and offer a revenue share agreement, a licensing agreement, a joint venture opportunity. So how flexible we are not only in the use cases, but how we work with our partners.
Imagine a world where you don't need a wallet to carry your credit cards, your ID card, or your driver's license. A world where a single smartphone can store all this securely in a theft-proof digital form. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, now it's a dream come true. Selim has created the new dimension of data storage. IDs, personal tickets, and coupons can now migrate to smartphones that are converted to highly secure digital wallets. The solution is the Selim Secure Motion QR code. This graphical code, which changes every 1/10 of a second, together with the applied cryptographic and encryption methods, allows various personal identifiers, like a photo or other biometric data, to be stored and presented securely. Be it an ID card, passport or driver's license, a coupon or concert ticket, or an airplane boarding pass, the holder can easily be identified by an inspector with the help of a dedicated device, or even another smartphone. Selim's newest development is ready to revolutionize the world of mobile transactions. The question is, are you ready?
Kebahagiaan berawal dari kemudahan. Kemudahan untuk menghadirkan kesenangan, keceriaan, dan kepuasan. Kepuasan untuk meraih kesuksesan. Menghadirkan filosofi smooth dalam budaya kerja, Metranet berupaya membangun koloni yang solid untuk menatap masa depan. Semangat pagi yang hadir dalam keseharian menjadi sebuah ritme kerja yang harmonis di keluarga. Metranet.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished panelists and audience. Selamat pagi Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu-Ibu yang saya muliakan. Selamat datang di acara Forum Bisnis Hunindo Tech 2.0. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Hunindo Tech 2.0 Business Forum, brought to you by the Embassy of Hungary in Indonesia and sponsored by the Ministry of Communications and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia, Tungsram Group, Selum, Telkom Indonesia, RKFM, and Festipay. The digital landscape in Hungary and Indonesia have witnessed a boom in line with global trends and is thus an immensely lucrative opportunity that countries must capitalize on. Both countries have a lot to offer in terms of technological innovations, be it from the infrastructure, financial technology, cybersecurity, startup and innovation management, transportation, and even medical technology fields. At the Hunindo Tech 2.0 Business Forum, stakeholders from both countries are here to share valuable knowledge and experience, and hopefully can form a strong partnership in the long term. For further information regarding potential partnership opportunities, kindly visit the official website for Hunindo Tech 2.0 Business Forum at www.hunindotech.id. I repeat, www.hunindotech.id. So without any further ado, we will commence with our panel discussion this evening. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rico Depari. I am a Fintech enthusiast, and I will be acting as the moderator for today's panel discussion, which will cover the topic business, legislation, and IT challenges in the Fintech innovation, the obstacles and solutions after the pandemic. So our first panelist today, apparently we have a group of A-list panelists from both Hungary and also Indonesia. And the first one is Selum Global. Selum is a leading multinational mobile wallet provider based in Europe, enabling banks, mobile operators, card scheme systems, and other providers to offer mobile commerce services, which include payments, couponing, and loyalty schemes as new ways to access customers. Their banking-grade solutions make transactions via smartphones easier and more secure and cover all areas of m-commerce. The systems operated by Selum currently manage over 20 million secure mobile transactions annually, and the company counts among its customers and partners MasterCard, leading telecom operators like Telkom Indonesia or Metranet as its shareholders, Telenor, Deutsche Telekom, top international banks, financial service providers, which include Finet and retailers of all sizes and types, among them here in Indonesia, such as MEP and GT Group. I am happy to introduce the representative from Selum Global. We have with us now Mr. Zoltan Ash. He is the head of innovation and director of Selum Asia. Mr. Zoltan has deep experience in operating IT and telecommunication systems, having held several positions in the areas of system operation and development. He has led the development of mobile commerce systems at Selum ZRT and MPP ZRT since the year 2006. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Zoltan.
Good afternoon.
Our next second panelist, it will be from PT Telekomunikasi Indonesia or PT Telkom. It is Indonesia's largest telecommunication and network provider. The company, which is majority owned by the Indonesian government, has a dominating market share in terms of mobile phone subscribers in Indonesia. Telkom is one of the largest Indonesian companies in terms of market capitalization. It is the parent company of the Telkom Group, which is engaged in a wide range of businesses, which include telecommunication, multimedia, property, and financial services. I am happy here to introduce the representative from Telkom. It is Mr. Eri Putra Hendraswara. He is the Deputy EVP Digital Next Business. Mr. Eri is a serial professional with more than 20 years of experience in the telecommunications, internet, payments, and startup industry. Previously, he held the position of Deputy EGM Digital Service Division, and he is active in various organizations relevant to his field, which include as head of Mastel Blockchain and Fintech or Telematics Society, board in program leadership group of GSMA Startup Ecosystem Accelerator, and chairman of Indonesia Blockchain Society. He is also the former chairman of Committee 6 ASPI or Indonesia Payment System Association. Selamat pagi Pak Eri, selamat datang. Our third panelist is from FestiPay. Nearly 110 Hungarian and foreign-owned fintech companies are represented in the domestic market, with the vast majority of them, nearly 90%, providing B2B services. Companies such as FestiPay are showing us the future of fintech while becoming global providers of the most advanced fintech services. FestiPay is one of Europe's largest integrated event management system provider, focusing on cashless payments, ticketing, access control, merchant solutions, and brand activation solutions across 10 countries in Europe, which include among them Hungary, Romania, Croatia, France, Italy, and Georgia. The company is one of the first companies to deploy an NFC-enabled wristband in order to maximize convenience and service security for festival goers. I am happy to introduce the representative from FestiPay. It is Mr. Daniel Kadriak. He is the CEO of FestiPay. A lawyer by training, Mr. Daniel Kadriak is also a digital payments expert working in the cashless or mobile payments area for the past decade with some of the most innovative and most secure digital payments platform providers across the world. He has gained expertise in business development, primarily in the European markets and the Asia-Pacific region. Good morning and welcome aboard, Mr. Daniel. Our fourth panelist is from IBM Indonesia. IBM is a leading cognitive solutions and cloud platform company which is headquartered in Armonk, New York, that leverages the power of innovation, data, and expertise to improve business and society. Established in 1911, it is the largest technology and consulting employer in the world, with more than 380,000 employees serving clients in 170 countries. With 27 consecutive years of patent leadership, IBM Research is the world's largest corporate research organization with more than 3,000 researchers in 12 labs located across 6 continents. With Watson, the artificial intelligence platform for business, IBM is building industry-based solutions to real-world problems, guided by its principles for transparency and trust in the cognitive era. I am happy to introduce the representative from IBM Indonesia. We have with us today Mr. Rahmadi J. Abdurrajak. He is the head of Infrastructure Services Solution. Mr. Rahmadi has been through a 24-year journey in the IT world, assuming multiple roles, from development engineer, consultant, solution architect, project management, business development, and even service line leader. During his tenure, he has formulated various digital solutions in multiple industry lines for many clients spread across the Asia-Pacific region. He is now responsible for leading the Infrastructure Services Solution Division of IBM Indonesia. Good morning, selamat pagi, selamat datang, Bapak Rahmadi. Our fifth panelist is from Multipass Asia. We all know that the pandemic has led to most companies in pursuing accelerated digitization. Businesses can onboard and contract their customers remotely, automate and distribute the labor-intensive back office workload, and avoid the burden of legacy enterprise high IT maintenance costs while still upgrading cycles. Multipass Asia's mission is to help its banking and insurance customers, mostly large enterprises, truly enter the post-COVID digitized 21st century era by transforming all of the above to cloud-native solutions. We're happy to have with us today the representative from Multipass Asia, Mr. Peter Siasi, the CEO of Multipass Asia, who will share his views of their priority in focusing on enterprise clients in the financial and government sectors across the Asian region. Mr. Sasi himself is a long-time regional IBM partner, driving cutting-edge digitization and business transformation for decades, helping customers and local partners alike. The driving force in the development its innovative products such as IntelliVector and Voyager, winning MPS the Best Cloud-Based Program Award at the Asians Banker Summit. Peter is also the president of the Central and Eastern European Chamber of Commerce and is on the board and executive committee of Eurocham in Singapore. Welcome, Mr. Peter.
Thank you.
Last but not least, I am also very happy to introduce our final panelist. It is from Paytran Indonesia. Okay, we have here Mr. Hari Prabowo. He is the CEO of Paytran Indonesia. Paytran, or PT Feritra Sentosa International, is Indonesian e-money company that emphasizes simple transactions and quick bill payments. The company's other field of expertise include fund transfers and PPOB. Mr. Hari Prabowo himself is an experienced problem analyst, especially in information management, with over 32 years of professional experience in his field. Prior to his appointment as CEO, Mr. Hari was the operational director and then managing director of Paytran Indonesia. Selamat pagi, selamat datang Bapak Hari Prabowo. So ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the conclusion of the panelists, and now I think we can start our panel discussion. So just as a brief background that we all know, apart from the various features and flexibility that it offers, one of the growing concerns faced by many of the fintech players in the market is related to the data security. Therefore, I would like to address my first question to Mr. Zoltan Ash from Selum. Mr. Zoltan, how can you ensure that the privacy and data safety, particularly when it comes to securing sensitive data storage, is there a certain innovation that still allows adequate user experience? And what do you consider to be a healthy trade-off between security and convenience? Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Zoltan.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. This is always a very interesting question. How can we make a usable trade-off between the security and convenience of customers? At Selum, we believe that security is the first. So when we develop or deploy any solutions all over the world, then our first concern is that how can we protect our customers' sensitive information? And to provide this kind of security to our customers and partners, we have patented a solution for this. We call it a split secret, where we can store sensitive data in a very secret and safety way. We've just got the patent for Indonesia for this solution as part of our system. Split secret basically ensure that without the customer approval, nobody can do anything with the sensitive information. Even Cellum or our partner cannot access the sensitive information if customer does not approve it or does not allow it. So back to your question, the trade-off is difficult, but we believe that security is the first, but convenience is also very important because customer user experience will be one of the key driver of the successful any fintech solution on the market.
Well noted. Thank you, Mr. Zoltan. I just have another question that we all know the unprecedented COVID-19 outbreak has changed the consumer behavior across various aspects, including payment and how customers settle their transactions. In light of this, I would like to address my next question to Mr. Daniel Kaderyak. How do you think the pandemic has influenced the solutions deployed in the market? And what do you think will be the uprising new opportunities that you see can be leveraged by fintech players? Over to you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you. Definitely the pandemic has influenced heavily in the recent month the way we use payment solutions and in general fintech solutions. We can see these trends of all the digital payment solutions becoming more and more fashionable simply because they are faster, they are cleaner, they are more reliable in terms of not spreading the virus. So I think this has become a key issue, even in markets where they are traditionally strong with cash. You know, even in Europe, you see a lot of developed markets, for example, Germany, where cash is king. There's this saying for the German market. And even these markets actually were forced by the pandemic to adopt cashless solutions. And the other factor of what we can see is that those markets which have made this leapfrog of digital technologies in the previous years, where maybe some intermediate solutions were not readily available on less developed markets, they made this leapfrog to the most advanced digital technologies. And now these markets are in somewhat of an advantage situation, simply because they have already adopted forms of digital payments which represent a much better and much more convenient solution. So this is a combination that we are currently experiencing on the market, seeing that all the mobile, all the remote payment options are gaining foothold, but also we can see that interestingly, some of the traditional less developed markets are running ahead in many cases in comparison with more developed markets. So I think this is definitely something that we can see. Also, it's a big question whether simply the situation evolving into a more controllable pandemic situation where we will have more control because of medication, because of vaccination in the future, whether these results will actually be long-term results of the transformation of the payment markets. And I think that's a question that a lot of experts and a lot of businesses are very interested to look at, and we yet to see the answers.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. I couldn't help myself from looking at the previous video that we all saw and witnessed together in this forum, that FestiPay is also very popular in terms of event management. So how do you see that the growing need of contactless payment as a hygiene factor by most customers? What do you think this will change in terms of the payment trends in the future compared to before the COVID times, particularly for large events or concerts or festivals?
Definitely the interest and the need is rising for this kind of payments. We can see, although 2020 has been a very, very irregular year in so many ways, especially for the event industry, we can see that it has basically destroyed the entire event industry all around the world, simply because events, festivals, large gatherings are not allowed to take place. And all these venue management companies, all these venue operators, event organizers, they're looking at solutions which could be used in the future in a more hygienic way, in a way that they can actually prevent the spreading of viruses. And if we look at the concrete inquiries that we are receiving as a business, I can tell you that especially in the second half of this year, we've seen a growing number of interests from different events which are looking actually for solutions, and even solutions which they were not familiar with. So definitely, I think it's a driving force. However, I think they do have a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty as to what kind of solution to deploy, because unlike in a restaurant or unlike in a cafe shop, you can see that these events they really want to deploy the most convenient but also the most reliable technology, simply because they need to do a lot of transactions within a very short period of time on their events.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. I would like to address my next question to Peter Siasi from Multipass Asia. As we all know, how do you think, Mr. Peter, that traditional players in the financial world can actually compete against the fintech industry, particularly here in Indonesia, as we all know that the 60% of our national GDP is contributed by the micro and the SME segment. And this also absorbs 70% of the national workforce, which is very labor intensive. And these are mostly grouped or under the unbankable segment. So how do you think they can compete in the fintech? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So I think there are multiple different approaches for this. One of the things is that my personal view is that it's best if they don't compete, but they try to work together. So if you look at the big financial institutions, some are more innovative, some others are less innovative. And actually, our mission with MPS is to help and make them transform faster and implement innovative fintech solutions faster, which is usually held back by their rigid structures, their very long IT past, practically having a lot of solutions from the last decade or the last century, so to say. And also, because they are in a different environment altogether. And actually, if you look at the two sides, then you have the fintechs, which actually offer very innovative new solutions and actually are kind of free from a lot of burden, a lot of regulatory burden, like capital requirements that the big financial institutions have. And you have the other side, the big banks and financial institutions who have the market reach and market access, which would be very, very useful for all the upcoming fintechs. So I have been just last week judging an EU startup, a fintech startup competition, and most of the fintechs have their biggest problem accessing the market, selecting which markets to target, getting an understanding of these markets, and then getting the good go-to market. So that's a big problem which could be solved. So in my vision, they could work together in a so-called plug-in architecture, basically providing services, because that could be a cooperative win-win for the two. And regarding your question about the Indonesian market, so I do see obviously everybody knows Gojek, so they are just leapfrogging into another area, another area, another area. So like if you open the application now, you have so many different services. And I think this is kind of what I told you about this cooperative plugin actually is the only chance that the traditional institutions have. Otherwise, they are just going to be left behind. So most of the fintechs will wait for the opportunity and the market, but some of the big ones, some of the unicorns, they will just get to the market and get things done in a couple of months that these larger, older, more rigid organizations are struggling to realize in 2, 3, 5 years. So practically, you're only, the BFSI, the banking and financial services industry is only hope to stay relevant is actually to start digital transformation right now.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Well noted. And what are the essential basics for applying blockchain in traditional finance and distribution channels?
Okay, another multifaceted question. So let me also pull that apart to different bits. So in my view, again, this is not very widespread view, but I consider fintechs at least in two groups. The so-called traditional fintechs who are still in traditional finance, maybe just providing more modern or lower cost alternatives to the traditional banking products. The like the halfway in between guys who provide the same products to different markets, like providing, I don't know, factoring solutions to SMEs. And then the actually new products, which just didn't exist before, and they have a blue ocean ahead of them. And actually, all of these need to be working together with the traditional institutions that I mentioned. And then there is a completely new generation of fintechs, which mostly exist in the digital world, which are all these blockchain, cryptocurrency, smart contract, etc. based fintechs. I call them the new school fintechs or the new generation of fintechs. Now, I think that two biggest challenges is what we have already seen is a lot of fraud, a lot of Wild West kind of behavior and happenings, cheating, stealing, bluffs, everything. So first, what they need is to get actual widespread consumer trust. And I think big part of that is having regulation and obeying that regulation. The other part of it is a good connection with the real world. So I give you two examples. Let's talk about trade. So you want to put your trade transactions, your shipments on blockchain. The first thing that you will need for that is actually good quality verified data. And as our company have been processing trade and scrutinizing trade transactions for many different organizations, we see how traditional, how old school the actual shipping companies, the actual customs are in all this region, from India to Indonesia to Singapore to everywhere. So there are digital interfaces, but so many of the world's trade is still based on paper, and you need a good bridging in between. So this is one part. The other part is the compliance and regulatory that I already mentioned. So if you are trying to digitize real world assets, it's nice to send in your Bitcoin and get your token to a real estate on Phuket Island, which we have already also done, but it is very hard to trust in itself. So it only works well if you can connect the smart contract blockchain world with the real world legal system and frameworks, and make sure that the people who actually buy the tokens with digital or fiat money, they actually also get their names on the property sheets of the actual assets in the real world. So that's the other important piece to connect in this digitization, in my view.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter. So we all know that the government recently claimed that fintech plays a very important role to accelerate the nation's economic recovery amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The government is seeking to increase the collaboration with various fintech players to extend the social aid distribution and also to improve the financial literacy and financial inclusion. Therefore, I believe one of the main issues which still prevail is regarding the customer privacy and data security. This remains an integral aspect across all platforms, which also has been mandated by both the central bank and also the OJK. Therefore, I would like to address my next question to Bapak Eri Putra from Telkom and also to Bapak Hari Prabowo from Paytrend. Can both of you share any best practices of the implementation of the KYC principles in Indonesia, know your customers? And also, how effective do you think the role of KYC implementation as preemptive measures against fraudulent attacks? Has it been effective so far? Silakan Pak Eri dan Pak Prabowo. Terima kasih.
Okay. Thank you.
Ya, oke, sebentar. Mungkin nanti Mr. Ardi yang bantu jawab pakai bahasa Inggris ya.
All right, Rico and fellow Hungary and Indonesian. So first of all, Paytrend is a payment company, yeah. So we are holding the license from Bank Indonesia. It's not from OJK. So so the answer is going to be from the Bank Indonesia standpoint then. Right. So regarding the KYC, all right. Right now, for the users, there are two kinds of users, unregistered and registered. For the unregistered one, we don't need KYC. You just apply on the application by subscribing your cell numbers and fill in the information on the very basic one, the name and so on. But there is no features of transfer out. It means you can only do transaction within our application. But if you want to have a transfer out features or you want to transfer among the users of Paytrend, then you have to do the KYC. And in Paytrend, we can do the online KYC right now. It's very easy, but you have to submit your national ID. Then this national ID will be validated against the Dukcapil. In Indonesia, we call it Dukcapil. It means the institution that validate the originality of your ID. That belongs to government. So we have that kind of cooperation with the government. So we ensure that every users that features that will link to have a features of transfer out, then they have to be validated first. After that, then they will have a video conference call with our officer here in Bandung. So Paytrend is not in Jakarta. Paytrend is in Bandung. Bandung is in one of the province in Indonesia. So that's a simple way of having the KYC. So if you ask me, then how reliable it is reliable because every information that was mandated by central bank or Bank Indonesia was validated. So most of the fraudsters that doing all their hanky-panky business in our application mostly is from the registered users, not the unregistered users, not the registered one. The registered one is the most legit users. They believe in our application, so we also believe in them by validating their ID first. And of course, we take their picture from the video call. That's how we do the business here in Indonesia, Pak Andreas. And also from this forum, I would like to say to say hello to Zoltan from Zelum. I've met Zoltan a few years back, and also Daniel, and our fellow IBMs, Pak Rahmadi. I used to be a IBMers, Pak Rahmadi, back in 2009. Right, so, and also Pak Heri Punta. Halo Pak Heri Punta. Nah, jadi ini saya campur sedikit bahasa Indonesia ya. So that's how we do the KYC things in Indonesia. So I leave to Pak Heri Punta if you want to add something from Indonesia standpoint on these KYC issues. Thank you.
Sorry, Pak Eri, before you start, I would just like to add on the explanation from Pak Hari regarding what he just explained for the KYC. We do the checking to the Dukcapil. The Dukcapil is the civil registry. So we provide the data of the customers from their KTP, their national ID number, which is now a single or unique entity for each citizen of Indonesia. So we have streamlined the process, and I agree that the data presented there is relatively reliable. Thank you. Please continue, Pak Eri, silakan.
Thank you, Pak Andreas. Thank you, Pak Hari, for the introduction. Yeah. Okay. Basically, everything is already described, yeah, by Pak Hari. About how we do the KYC in Indonesia. So I just like to add some additional information about the how we have and how we do and how we practice about the KYC. So previously, when we talk about the KYC, we did it really manually before the QR, before the announcement of the digital payment. So at the time, everything is really manual. So I guess it's starting just a couple years ago. I mean, it's just recently that we just use the new common practice. The one that's starting up is of course coming from the startup company, yeah, that doing the KYC in the newly and a new kind of way. Like they are doing something like previously we all love to know that, because how we do the KYC by taking a picture, a selfie. Selfie is really popular in Indonesia. So everyone take a picture, selfies, and then just by taking a picture, and you put your ID and with your pictures to your you just use a handphone or anything. So that's the first introduction to the digital, quote unquote, the digital KYC. So the process is still and the checking to the to capital is still manual at the time. So after that, the connections open from the to capital, so you can do not just the ID verification, but you could also get the more data, yeah, like biometric. So you can use your fingerprint, you can use your face identifications. So not just previously it's only like static pictures. But now static pictures is not recommended because it could be fraud easily, because you can take the picture and you can put it and you can like imposter as another person to being yourself. So the next introduction is on how we do the KYC is adding two-way two-factor authentication, just like SMS, OTP, yeah, that you can use using SMS, any kind of messengers or maybe emails to add more protection. So that's what we do with our platform in Telkom. We also offer the QR payment platform that we work with the local banks, and also we work with the small and micro medium enterprise. The product called as Keren. So I myself actually also built the QRIS standard when I was in ASPI last year. So how we create the standard. So we try to work with the central bank and ask about the relaxation actually. So when we talk about the small medium enterprise, so the regulation is really tight. That the document that you need is very, I mean, a lot of document that you need just to be registered on the system. So that's the thing that when you talk about the basic KYC is for the users. But if you want to be as the merchants, there's another things that you need to do. So we try to propose from the industry that for the merchant side, if you ask everything from the beginning, you won't be able to create the ecosystem. Because if you get the user, but if user cannot use your payment, then it's useless. I mean, there is no use case. So you need to open and invite the business users, like a small medium enterprise, like introducing the static QR is using pictures, so you can enable like a warung, mom and pop shop to be able to take the digital payment. But if you ask them like, okay, you need to have the tax ID. Usually it's NPWP, we call it NPWP. Previously it's mandatory, but we asked to central bank that could we have some relaxation that okay, only certain by tiering. So we made it the risk by the category. Not all with having the same document needed, but if you are having more transaction, then you need more additional document to securing that you are really what you are. So because the fraud could be systemic in this case, but we could mitigate by limiting the transactions. So the small, medium, the very ultra small, ultra small. So you limit the transaction numbers, but the less document needed. But if you want to have more transaction, then you need it to give more documentation. So that's some additional about the how we practice about the KYC here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bapak Eri Punta. Okay. IBM Indonesia, being one of the pioneers for IT and business solution providers in the market, has enabled their clients to drive digital transformation with various state-of-the-art technologies. I believe among them is cloud computing. Therefore, I would like to address my next question to Bapak Rahmadi from IBM Indonesia. What is the current market situation with regards to cloud readiness for both virtual and private? Over to you, Pak Rahmadi.
Thank you, Pak Andres. Okay, so basically, I think I would say like cloud is basically the enabler of fintech, right? Not only cloud can host the solution, but it's also, I mean, like in terms of technically, right? In terms of the architecture, right? Cloud native architecture model is like with the microservices and everything, is basically the one that enable us building a good fintech solutions addressing the business agility. So I think that also makes cloud service providers able to provide the capabilities required by fintech, such as blockchain or AI or cognitive IoT kind of stuff as a service, right? When we see to the market, right, we see ongoing market, right? Before the pandemic, actually we predicted that Indonesia will be making quite significant growth in terms of cloud adoption. I think it's around 20%, right? We predicted it's going to be around 50-50 share between cloud and non-cloud solutions in around about $3 billion US dollars market size, right? While mostly around 70% coming from the public cloud perspective. So, well, but now, I mean, the pandemic situation is happening, we probably could see this as a kind of a blessing in disguise in some ways, right? Because I believe that this should be able to drive even faster for the cloud adoption, right? So as the situation requires them to do so, right? Culturally, right? So from industry perspective, right? Telco and financial service are leading the fast train. And while telco is mostly preparing on the infrastructure, while banking or financial services are establishing the content itself. Although in terms of the cloud solutions, right? I mean, IBM don't really have a public cloud that physically exists in Indonesia, right? But then we actually, in terms of the solution itself, we already have established the hybrid cloud solutions that's specially built for the financial services. So we call it basically a financial service cloud. Since it is specifically built for financial services, it has strong emphasis on addressing financial service concerns like risk exposure, compliance, security, with the of course including the balance between those with the innovation and agility as the cloud solution as well. Basically that financial services cloud is kind of a hybrid cloud solutions with a built-in compliance or financial service policy framework, right? Since this is a financial service, very special, and rich with the and extensive infrastructure services, of course. And also, security is very important here. That's why it's also built in with the secure and enterprise-grade security solutions. It also has the rich catalog of what's so-called the trusted as software as a service solution as well, coming from the third-party providers, right? And also it can come up with the proprietary risk analysis and security regulation consulting services that come together with these solutions as our expertise on demand as well. So from this, I think we can see that. Before that, this is financial service cloud, right? I mean, this has been proven to be implemented in the US, right? In Bank of America. Basically, they migrated all their systems to our cloud, and then now it's now being recognized as the world first financial service ready public cloud, right? So from what I can see here, right? I think in terms of the technology, I think we are ready. But then in terms of the market, I think the market is yet to fully adopt that. But I think it's getting there. I think it's also this somehow pandemic situation is actually may fasten the processes as well. Yeah, I think that's from my perspective.
Thank you, Pak Ramadi. And one more question. What do you think are the main challenges when it comes to enterprise transformation from your experience as such a digitization and crowdsourcing?
Well, when we are talking about enterprise transformation, right? I think it always have to involve every single sectors of the enterprise itself, right? Including systems, processes, and also the people. Based on my experience, I think when there's a question, what's the easiest part? Well, doing the system implementation, right? The easiest part is actually implementing the technical implementation of the system itself. That's the easiest part, although it looks very difficult, very comprehensive, right? For very complex. While on the hardest part is actually even to make people adapt to it or even using it. So basically, the system is the easiest part, but the people is the hardest part. So especially on this innovations, right? I mean the fintech kind of stuff, right? Usually this innovation was only seen as a driven by technology solutions, right? So I mean people just focusing on the technology itself. While in the fast-paced market, right, now market is going very fast, right? Technology and skills, everything can be just changed in the blink of an eye. I mean, today technology like this, but tomorrow could be different, right? So it's not really like the technology, but it's the people itself. So people is the key issue here. So therefore, the innovation ecosystem is the one that has to be created. So in this case, the IT leadership, CIO, CTO can be the one who actually drive the transformations. Usually there are three steps of the transformation, right? Going through this digital transformation, I would say, right? It has to go through three process of digital maturity processes. First, of course, we need to fix the culture first by enhancing our operational capability, efficiency. We have to be able to make sure that the whatever we are doing now is matched to the KPI that has been defined properly, right? So basically, fix the culture first. And then second, we start to build the ecosystem, right? We start to build this ecosystem to be ready with this. Usually we start with a pilot project. Pilot project to basically is a kind of an entry point for the adoptions to the digital transformations, as well as the success story that will be set as a good example to continue further. So everyone will follow this. This is a kind of a pioneer, right? Then after we success with that, then we only sustain the culture. So we fix the culture, we build the culture, we build the ecosystem itself based on that culture, and then we sustain the culture. So based on what we have successfully implemented or executed, we establish something like a what's so-called like a center of excellence, something like that. Which basically is the kind of an organizations, like a kind of driving the changes to the organizations. Yeah. So that's basically what we've been doing on the digital transformation part. In terms of the crowdsourcing, right? I mean, as a fintech, fintech is a technology-driven. I would say, right? I mean, we have to be aware that basically developers is the key for this, and they are the key actors building the solution ecosystem itself, right? Again, we're talking about the ecosystems, right? So building and nurturing developer ecosystem is very, very important here. We saw that some big banks like Bank Mandiri or BRI, they've been doing that by conducting events like a hackathon, right? IBM have been supporting such initiatives. Actually, we also have our own initiative together with Kominfo, Indonesia Kominfo, Communication and Innovation Ministry. We conduct a kind of a digital talent scholarship for the same purpose. So it's like nurturing the community, nurturing the ecosystems. So hope that this can be followed by another organization as well to build an even bigger ecosystem in Indonesia. Thank you, Pak.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Pak Ramadi. If we go back to the beginning of this panel discussion, I believe we all listened to the keynote speech, which was addressed by our foreign minister. And I believe the government of Indonesia is very open towards new startup companies who would like to invest here in Indonesia. Therefore, I would like to go back a bit to our Hungarian panelist, Mr. Zoltán Ash. I would like to ask, can also later on, we would like to hear the opinions from Mr. Peter Siasi and also from Daniel Kadria. What do you think of the regulator's role in supporting or slowing down the growth of digital payment solutions here in the Indonesian market? Over to you, Mr. Zoltán. Thank you.
Thank you. In general, I believe that the legislation has to be very straightforward, because clear rules are necessary on the market to offer any kinds of services. So it's true not just for the fintech, but for all other markets as well. I believe that fintech and all kinds of innovation need some room where they can grow, where they can try out new things and so on. But also and especially in case of financial markets and fintechs, the rules and legislation is quite important because they can provide the safety and trustfulness of these services for customers. So if the market doesn't have any regulation, then customers won't believe in these services because they don't have any trust in these new companies, new solutions, and so on. So this is also very sensitive trade-off between the rules and the freedom of these new companies, new solutions, and it's very important to find the right balance of these areas, so the freedom and the legislation and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Zoltan. Mr. Peter, over to you.
Hi. What I wanted to add on this is I would like to reflect back, and I very much agree with the notion that the level of scrutiny could be and should be on level with the financial risk. So if you have I don't know, a sub $10 transactions, probably a lot less scrutiny is necessary than if you are purchasing a house or a plot practically, and then you will have a very good quality, and you will need a very good quality due diligence or KYC about the customer to whom you give a loan, be that a traditional institution or a fintech company. And as for the Indonesian market, which is, I see it as being a very special one. So practically being such a large country and divided into so many islands, it just deserves its own ideas and how things should be done on this market, I think. And I do see the function of, so this is like a large market, a complicated market. I wouldn't say this is the easiest market to set up your company in. So I do see that it is very well justified. It's very important to have these concentrators of information that, for example, we have here, that the role that the Hungarian embassy is taking with organizing this. And we are kind of also trying to do a similar thing with the CEC, the chamber here. Central Eastern European Chamber is just, we created it as CEC to be slightly a larger set of companies to be comparable, is to from one side, from the Hungarian side, to collect many interesting and exciting fintechs, and then on another side to try to introduce them to the ASEAN, Indonesian markets and their complexity and how they are different, how they are special. So I think a big part of it is also knowing the market. KYC in Indonesia is very, as you also mentioned earlier in your questions to me, there are a lot of unbanked or unbankable people in Indonesia. So it needs very special, different considerations if you are a European startup coming from an integrated single market and the Schengen zone, and you need to change your thinking. So I think it needs special considerations, and these knowledge integrators, connection and network integrators do have a very important role to play that we are doing here.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Mr. Daniel, would you like to add on probably?
Yes, apart from agreeing with pretty much everything that my fellow panelists said, I would like to say that, yes, like clarity in legislation and the flexibility of legislation is vital. But maybe one other factor I could add here is that the government and the big players of the private sector should be also very actively promoting these kind of solutions, especially in the pandemic situation. So I think that's also key, that yes, you have an environment where it is actually regulated in a clear way, so that all the players, all those who want to do business would know what to expect and whether they can find a return on their investment. But also I think for people to really start using these solutions and have the trust and also have the ability to use these solutions, the state must play a very active role in promoting and encouraging these solutions.
Thank you so much, Daniel. So it's interesting to get the feedback from the Hungarian panelists regarding the role of the regulator here in Indonesia. So we would also like to hear some opinions from Pak Hari Prabowo and probably Pak Eri Punta. What is your takeaways towards the current fintech regulation here in Indonesia? Are there any restrictions or scope or areas for improvement? Silakan Pak Eri dan Pak Hari Prabowo.
Okay, thank you. I guess the framework is already. I mean, the government is really open and really supportive to the fintech. Yeah, I guess through OJK and also central bank. Yeah, both of the organizations and institution is really supporting the fintech. Is it coming from the payment side or maybe from the lending and peer-to-peer? So and also the government itself is also open to the startup that's coming to Indonesia with safe harbor policy, yeah, that we also invite, and also the Minister of Industry is also saying about the law of omnibus law, yeah, Cipta Kerja, that also already announced that opening a new landscape, yeah, in this case. So regarding to the other things that we need to be that compared to the Europeans that they have GDPR, yeah. In Indonesia we don't have privacy policy yet. I mean perlindungan data pribadi (PDP), privacy,
customer privacy and data protection. Yeah,
it's yet finished and still in developing the law. So I think that's also important, yeah, that regarding to the fintech, because we also heard about the misusage and misconduct of the data itself from the fraudster. From maybe it's not the not all, but some can use that data. And I think it's really important to protect your customer in this case, and then also how we really I mean like the security is very important, and also how do we provide the services to the customer is also really important. That's the thing that I like to add, and then yeah, maybe that Pak Hari would also add additional info.
Thank you, Pak Eri. Silakan Pak Hari Prabowo. We would like to hear from you.
Right. Let me explain something here. First of all, Pak Hari Prabowo is here. He's the CEO. So my name is Ardian, actually. I am the Chief Risk Officer of Paytrend. With regard to your question about the restriction, number one, I would like to emphasize that the fintech domain is not only on the OJK side, on the OJK side, but also on the central bank. So the payment fintech is a domain of central bank, while the rest of the fintech, like say insurance or lending, or let's say reksadana, or share, or you know, like the securities
mutual funds.
That's a part of the OJK, but also it is a big one. Yeah, the central bank only deal with the payment one. So number two, regarding the restriction, one thing that has in common between OJK and central bank is their spirit is to protect the users, to protect the Indonesian users. That's the idea. And they also that's why they develop any kind. It's not, I would say, not restrictions, more on the protection side. So that's why when you coming into the payment or the fintech domain in Indonesia, you should comply to several things, especially on how you protect your system security, how you do how do you protect the customers' privacy, those kind of things. I think that's apply all around the world. I think the difference is only on the aspect of how the government of each countries emphasize that. That's only the difference. So I will not use the word restrictions. It's more on the how they organize the sovereignty, the kedaulatan of Indonesia. That's the idea. Sovereignty, security, and also protection. So that's the spirit, I think. So as much as we are the players within this domain, yes, we have regular reports to central bank from the weekly to monthly reports regarding the customers, the transaction, and so on. But it also the central bank and OJK also provide us the let's say the best way how to do this, in that spirit of protection and sovereignty. I think that's all, Pak Riko.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak. Thank you so much for the explanation. Vandana, I think we have time for one question. We still have 5 minutes. Hello, timekeeper. Vandana, MC.
Yeah, Pak Andres, we have only 3 minutes before end the session.
Okay, I just have
the conclusion.
Because my timing, I think we still have. Okay, we have 3 minutes. Okay, just one quick and final question. I think it's. I would like to address it to Mr. Zoltan Ash. Do all Hungarian companies consider cultural adaptation in introducing and implementing fintech in Indonesia? Thank you, Mr. Zoltan. Over to you.
Thank you. Adaptation and customization is always necessary. It's a must. So it's not just cultural, but the way how customers are behave on the market. How, for example, what kinds of applications do they like, and so on. So if we would like to be successful on the Indonesian market, then we have to customize our solutions to meet the local demand, the local behavior. And of course, it also contains the cultural adaptation, but I don't think that it's a big issue. Both countries very open, and I don't think so that it can be difficult things. But you are right that this is a must if we would like to be successful on the market.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zoltan. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that concludes this panel discussion round. It has been a very fruitful and insightful session to each and every one of us. On behalf of the Hunindo Tech 2.0 committee, I would like to express my deepest gratitude and express my sincere thank you to each and every one of you, particularly to all the panelists who have attended today's webinar. And we hope that we can meet again in the next business forum. Thank you once again. Stay safe, be healthy, and God bless. I leave it to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Andreas. So we can end this session without MC. Over to you, Pak Andreas.
Okay. Yeah. I just address the closing remarks. Thank you each and everyone, to all of our panelists and to all the audiences. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to also know each and every one of you. And I hope by this discussion, this very warm discussion that we all had, we can look for future opportunities that we can build together, not only for the Hungarian companies, but also for Indonesian companies as well. And we hope that we can yield to a very fruitful partnership in the future. Thank you.